chat to us, we can talk to them. And I now can't find it, so I might worry about that later, I
I can see
think.
it.
It's chat, here we go.
Yes.
Live stream chat. There you go. So if anybody wants to chat to us, you can in fact chat to us. We've just discovered that between us. Okay, so welcome Minelle
Thank you,
Williams, who we
Jess.
love. I'm so pleased to see you again.
Thank you.
This is just a really lovely spontaneous thing that we're doing, everybody. But thank you for
Mhm.
joining us, and you won't regret it. So we're just going to chat for about 20 minutes, half an hour about what Minelle's going to be doing at the Lifting the Lid Festival, which is the 14th to the 17th of
Mhm.
November this year. And it's all different time zones. So you need to look up Lifting the Lid Festival. You can find them on LinkedIn, you can find them on this YouTube, and all over the internet. And Ticket Tailor, you can buy your tickets. So the first thing I think we need to do is tell people where we can find Minelle and the date and all the things.
As I'm pulling
So
it up, exactly.
doing the same thing, yeah.
I am the
I wish I knew
16th,
that.
so yes,
Okay,
perfect. I am on
16.
yes, November 16th at the bright early time for me of 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I will wake up very early to be prepared and share with all of you at 5 a.m. my time. I guess
And
most of
I'm
my people will watch the recording.
yeah, and I'm going to be facilitating at the really healthy, lovely hour of 10 Greenwich Mean Time. So we'll be on again together, which is
Yes.
really fun. So
Mhm.
Manel's doing a talk about balancing life and legacy while caring for ourselves. And any of you out there who are like me, death professionals, you will know how rubbish we are at that. So
Mhm.
this I'm going to quickly read a little bit about the session description. So we spend our careers helping others prepare for loss, guiding families through their hardest moments, and ensuring that their loved ones are honoured. But let's be honest, which we never are, we're not always great at taking care of ourselves. Exactly so. So we put in all the long hours. We put up a wall or we absorb the grief of others and we keep showing up, often at the expense of our own well being. And the truth is, many of us have not taken the time to reflect on our own lives, our joys, and our futures. Even though we know better than anyone how unpredictable life can be,
Mhm.
we are the worst offenders. This isn't just about making sure that our paperwork is in place, it's about making sure that we are living fully while we do this work. I just love that you're doing this. This talk is about finding balance, that elusive balance, living
Yeah.
well while doing the important work we do. She makes it sound easy. We're going to keep it real, which I'm really relieved about, have a few laughs, which is everything, and most importantly, walk away with some practical ways to live well on purpose so that we can end well. So that's the thing. And now you're going to hear about what kind of an amazing person this is. And I'm super excited to be hooked up with this fabulous person in Canada. So, Minelle Williams is an end of life doula, an executor advisor who brings warmth, compassion, and a personal touch to guiding families through estate and legacy planning. Not the most fun thing,
Nope.
blending professional expertise with real life stories for truly meaningful conversations. With 20 years of experience as a licensed funeral director as well, she understands the importance of making thoughtful decisions about legacies, helping people navigate through difficult topics, with both practicality and care. Through her platform, which is called Ending Well with Manel, which we love because it rhymes and it's fun. Ending Well with Manel, she shares resources, workshops, and engaging content across social media and YouTube, including this, encouraging purposeful living and planning. Her work supports families at every stage, from individuals to caregivers, in creating legacies that truly reflect their values. So she's not got much going on, just here and there.
Just a smidge.
I
It's fine.
mean, just a little bit. So, Minelle, why don't you say a little bit yourself, and then we'll get into our little chat. And I'm very nosy, so
Yes.
I'll probably keep you here forever.
No worries at all. I love this. So I love hearing this intro and the bio because so I've been doing this, I've been doing this for a while. I've been in death care forever. Even like as a child, I was always interested in it. But it's so weird how you can work in an industry forever and then life will hit you and suddenly everything changes. Right. So for me, like I've been doing this work and I've been talking to families, and how many times have I talked to them about balance and right? And having and caring for themselves and looking after themselves while caring for their loved one, all of that. And then the script flips and it becomes me, the person who's caring for my father. And the moment it became me, everything changed. Because you know what they say, like everyone thinks that we know how to, how to handle like people when someone we know dies, they think, oh God, you guys know exactly what to say and how to handle it. No, we have nothing. We have no clue. And it might even be even worse because we see it so much. We have this weird way of interacting with people that they're not used to. So anyway, when I became the caregiver, it shifted how I felt about what I did as work and what I did as a caregiver. And balancing those two is where I have found myself. And this is the ending well and the living well and the how do I well this while balancing and carrying all of these loads. That is what we're going to talk about.
How do you fill your own well?
Yes.
It's so hard. It's so
Mhm.
hard. Well, I love this for us. I love this for all of you death professionals out there listening, because quite frankly, I could use a bit of help. I mean, I was really, really proud of myself. This is what it's like when you work in this kind of work. You find yourself, you've got a cold, you've got a full day, you're going to go and meet a family, or I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And I thought to myself this morning, you don't have to do that. You can actually cancel that thing that is not making you any money, doesn't have to happen now. Why are you doing that to yourself? I'm not doing it anymore. So I think I need a gold star for that, right? Because I actually did it. I just said, I can't do this. I'm prioritizing my self-care. I'm not going to be there for the next 2 weeks of this thing. Whatever they do or they say, I've done what was right for me. And that is extremely hard. And it's been a long learning. So that's the kind of thing we're talking about, I guess.
There's that. And and I honor you for doing that because I know how hard it is to say no, especially in what we do. We feel like if we say no, the world will crumble. And so I've had to do a lot of work to realize that, like, I remember I was sick, 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 sick. And I was trying to take just one day off. Just one day, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Just one day. And I remember when my coaches was like, and if you took the week to get fully back to where you want to be, what would happen? And so I took the week and nothing changed. Right? Families were fine, everything was okay, but we're so accustomed to not just giving, but especially when dealing with families, when they're dealing with grief, there's a lot that they share and there's a lot that they need more than just, hey, let's have a meeting. It's like we talk about this. You said, even in this, you said, okay, we're going to talk, but we're going to talk a little bit longer because we're so accustomed to it. I have a 20-minute, the intro call. Okay, 20-minute intro call. It's been an hour and we're still on the call, right? Because there's so many things we want to get into. But we have to get better at saying, I'm here and I'm available for you for this amount of time. And then I've got to stop and take care of me, as opposed to saying, bleed me dry. I've got nothing left. But that's okay, because I'll catch up somehow, when, how. Yes. So.
Are you going to teach us? I really need you. I mean, so good. I mean, yeah, because we love it. Or there's a combination of things. We love it. We get so much from it. And also we have a bit of a sense of our own importance. I'm not going to lie.
100%.
You actually weren't that important for that week. You weren't. And that's hard because you think you are and you're not.
Yes. Yeah. I know. And then there's the two sides, right? There's us taking care of ourselves in the midst. And then I also throw the gauntlet back on us and say, hey, in taking care of yourselves, all the things that you talk to your families about, making sure you have an advanced care directive, making sure that you've got your wills and power of attorney and your funeral plan. Exactly. You know where I'm going. Have you done them for yourself? Have we taken the time to not just think about what we want, but to actually write it down? Because, when we're not able, they can't get into our heads to find them. And everybody assumes that we have it clearly perfectly done because we talk about it all the time. And then something happens to us and they're looking through our mess going, hey, you were a professional.
What we have here then, this session in a nutshell, is Manel calling us all out. Calling us out because hands up, haven't done it. And many of my friends haven't done it. I'm not going to name and shame, but we haven't. And we don't really have any excuse. There's no excuse at all. I don't even know why. So very, very important. I mean, we're going to look completely ridiculous when we die and no one can find our passwords.
we're like,
So your
should we
work,
talk
tell us
about
a
this?
little bit about
Yeah.
how this plays out in terms of your working life. I'm imagining you've obviously got quite a few strings to your bow. The thing that you're talking to us about here, is this a new initiative that you're involved in since everything that you've been going through?
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is a passion project. This is what I've learned. And there's a book that really there's two. There's Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. That book and Briefly Perfectly Human by Elua Arthur. Those two books, I read them. Die with Zero is all about giving everything that you have now so that when you die, you've got nothing. You've given all your time, you've given all your money, you've lived fully. And Elua Arthur is a death doula, bless you, who talks about the same thing, about choosing ourselves and living fully and being okay with the fact that we are going to die, so we have to live. And now what I'm doing here is sharing from that. I'm not waiting. I've wanted to do this. I've wanted to do interviews. I was like, this is something I think I'll do one day. And this is my one day. I've decided that now is the time that I'm going to be impacting and sharing my message. So yes, I deal with clients. So I definitely on my day to day, I've got clients that I'm serving, that I'm helping through their estate. A lot of people don't know what the executor assistant is, executor advisor is.
I think
They,
that's
we
right,
actually
actually. We might need to go into that. I think that's a really good idea. Yeah.
Mhm. So the executor advisor is one who's supporting the executor, who's supporting people planning their estates on what are the impacts of their estate planning. So we work with the financial advisors, we work with insurance professionals. I'm an insurance professional as well. And we work together with your tax person, with your lawyer to ensure that your estate is covered and that it will be passed on. Kind of sharing with the family. I like to work beforehand, so in the pre. So I'm sharing with the family what the executor will be responsible for and the impacts of their decisions on that executor. And then on the other side, we're also helping the executor go through that process. Now, once you start learning what you have to do as an executor, you might change your mind as to whether you want to be. So it's good that we talk about it beforehand. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure though. But it's the same thing. Like I like it because you combine the death doula with that. And now it's not just here are the tasks, but here's the emotional aspect of as well, because we're not just talking about someone who's separate, who's going through the tasks of closing an estate. This is a family member, this is a friend who's going to close your estate, who's going to look through all of your, journals and everything and find out more about you than maybe you had intended. What does that mean? How do you feel about taking on that role? Because I use my dad as the example. When he got sick, it wasn't like a slow, oh, you're getting sicker. Okay, let's start making plans. It was boom. Oh God. So now what? And now I'm responsible for going through your house and looking at everything and figuring out how to sell everything and how to do everything. And it's a role that maybe you're okay with and maybe you're not. And remember how you said, I said, no, I'm taking my time for me. Sometimes people have to say no. Sometimes people have to say, I'm not doing this part. So a lot of that is how I navigate. Yes.
This is really complex work. This is so all the skills, so much negotiating and so much mediating, all the family dynamics. I mean, that's really, really skilled, complex work. So you're doing death doula work, the emotional side, and then all this, the legal stuff, the executor work, and then this passion project. And you're a funeral director as well.
I've been a funeral director. I'm not an operating funeral director anymore. So I still
Okay.
keep my license and all of that. But
Yeah.
after all of those years, I think I've done my service in the
Hung up your
funeral
frock
industry.
coat. I'm so
Yeah.
relieved. I really understand that. I do think it
Mhm.
has a shelf life, and I think if you're not willing to acknowledge that, I think maybe you need to go away and think, because there's so much. But what you're doing sounds as though you're bringing with you all of the skills that you've learned over the course of a very long career, but making it your own,
Mhm.
which
Exactly.
I feel is
Exactly.
very lovely for your people. I'm sure that you're just such a reassuring presence when you come into the house.
I
Do you
do a
meet in the
lot.
house?
No, yeah, I do a lot virtually. I typically
Ah.
do because I'm bringing everybody. I want like whoever's involved from wherever they are in the world, we're all going to meet together. And there's a safety in this Zoom. We're not, it's a safety and it's good and bad, right? Because we're not together. We don't have all of the social aspects. You don't have all the facial expressions. You don't know what your fingers are doing and all of that. But it does also help us get that little break when we need it. and also kind of work through everybody's thoughts. So yes, I
Oh,
do a lot of
amazing.
virtual.
Yeah.
The course,
Oh,
I
so
have the course that, for those who aren't really ready to kind of sit down and go through it all together, you start there. Start with the course, start with the workbook. Learn about what it means to estate plan. Think about what it means to end well, what that does. And then we get together. So there's steps to it, so no one's really being blindsided. But yeah, I love having the open conversation, because a lot of people think, okay, we're just going to do this quick talk and it's going to be done. Right? We start with this just quick, okay, we're going to go over the very important questions. 6 questions? Okay, we'll be an hour. We're done. But now we get into the why and the explain. And think about the impact of what you just said. And once we get into that, woo, we're into the meat and potatoes and it's great, right? Yeah.
this is meat and potatoes work. I mean, so are you serving the whole world? Have you got a particular demographic that you love to serve, or are you there for all of us? Can I hook up with you and you help me if I'm in the
Yes.
UK?
Yeah, so
Oh,
what I did, I
wow.
started off just in Canada, because that's where I am based. And then, so now what I've done is I've created everything that I've created is universal. So now we're talking concepts as opposed to specifics. So I'm not going to get into the legalities of how your wills and all of that works. And when it comes to the executor advising piece, it's much broader for someone who is not in my province specifically, because each province and each place is different, but we take those same concepts and apply them to wherever they are. So I do have clients a little bit, mostly in Canada, some in North America, and I do have a few actually in the UK that I've served. So it's broad now. It's definitely broadened. And hopefully we're going to get into groups, because apparently people just, you know what it is? Nobody wants to talk about it until you open up the conversation. And then everybody does. Actually, I think I saw one of your interviews. You were talking about this next generation in the UK, the Gen Zers, who all want to talk about it, right? So
Oh,
once you
they're
open
into
it
it.
up, sorry,
They are. They're really up for it. They're really
yeah,
into it. And they
yeah,
think we're awful. Why aren't you talking about it? Yeah, they're really helping move things forward.
I love that. I love this next generation is awesome. But I'm like, I
They
just think
are. They're
once you
really
start opening it up,
fantastic.
yeah. I was like, let's go. Let's have these hard conversations, or hard or not, but let's talk about what's important. And so these kind of forums I know get more popular because people want to. They're curious, they're interested, and they don't know where a safe place is to have these conversations. So that's why
I think
this
that's
work is so
true.
important.
I think that's true. I mean, there's so much about how people don't talk about death, but a lot of that is because, I mean, when they get you or I in a corner, they're talking about death. So it's not that people don't want to talk about death; it's that there's no safe spaces in which to do that. And I
Hmm.
think the thing with Gen Z is that they are really into self-care. So they would find me ridiculous, even like they would, because they wouldn't do that to themselves. And I think we learn, don't we, from them, which
Yeah.
is really beautiful. And all the stuff. There's that amazing book, the Nat Bishop, Trisha Hersey. She's really brilliant. She did a thing called the Nap Ministry where she was teaching women specifically to rest. She was you'd love. She was anti-hustle, and her artwork is like an immersive rest experience where she started out just hiring village halls. And she said primarily she's an artist, but she got loads of duvets and pillows and blankets and told people to bring them, and then they just all lay down in the village hall as an act of resistance. And like, yeah, like rest is resistance, that's her
I
thing.
love
But I'll
it.
send you the link. Yeah, so it
Yes.
sort of ties in a bit with what you're doing. And there's something around doing all the estate planning and doing all of this conversation in advance, and in this way that you're describing is actually quite safe over Zoom, because you've got distance enough that you feel safe and you're not going to feel any kind of physical threat, and you can go off and have a cry or punch something if you want to. But there's
Exactly.
such a tie-in, isn't there, in terms of self-care, if you're getting someone to help you do this shit, because otherwise you're on your own doing that as well, and you're the one in the family that does the thing. And I've heard a lot of women talking about that lately. Oh, it's always me, I always take it on. Well, you know what, maybe you don't have to. Maybe
Hmm.
we need to stop martyring ourselves in that
Hmm.
way.
Oh,
Could you give us a little example of some work that you've done, a little
yeah.
story maybe?
I think, well,
Sorry, I have a cough.
as women, I think that is, I just want to touch on that because that is so key. There's always one in the family who is carrying the load of having these conversations, supporting, organizing, Christmas, all of that kind of stuff. And taking having that chance to say no, or let's do it this way, or I need your help in this, and actually getting that. That is the balance. And in our lives, how many times is it us? Because of what we do, because we're so accustomed to being these caregivers and these supports for others, how do we now take off that role so that we can, I love that nap therapy, so that we can find out now what is live like, what does it mean for me to be at peace? Because so many times we don't even think about that. We're just focused on working, going, and we forget. And we don't even like, I had to stop and think, what do I want to do other than work? It's a Saturday night. I haven't gone out in forever. I'm just so accustomed to working on the next project, this hustle culture, that I'm working on the next thing, that I don't even remember what it was like to have time to just do fun things. So, really rediscovering what that is and making that a priority. That's the balance that we're talking about. Sorry, but you asked me a question. So, a story from one of the families, let's see here. I think I had a family. There was some here, there was some overseas, and we were all on a Zoom. And they were trying to make arrangements. I think it was for a dad. I'm not, you see a lot of people, we start mixing families together. I just think I remember them specifically because there was two daughters, and we were trying to understand cremation, cremation versus burial. What do we want to do? How does this look? And in their case, we kind of had to come to a middle ground of, a lot of people think cremation means nothing. There's going to be no service, there's going to be nothing, right? So we had to kind of talk about what is important to one. What is that service? What is that important aspect that you needed to have? And then the other one just wanted it to be as simple as possible, right? Because remember, we all come from different aspects when it comes to how we see our parents or whoever it is that we're planning for. So one was like, I've had enough, I'm done. Can you tell which one that one was? The caregiver, right? The other one, right, wants to have a whole thing because they want to show their love in that way. So we ended up coming up with this beautiful, idea of a custom service and beautiful accoutrements like flowers and all these beautiful things and ways to celebrate so that it honors the one that wants it. And who took on that role? You did. You want that. Let's talk about what you need in order to make it happen. And then the other one got to still have the simplicity because she's now going to be the executor, right? So she's going to be doing the actual paperwork side and payments and all of that, right? So how do I go through this portion of it to make it easier for me, while the other one still got the service and the experience that she wanted? And a lot of times, this is what we navigate, right? Multiple people with different priorities, but all coming at it with the heart and with the goal of love and respect. But what we see as love and respect are two different things. So, how do we meet in the middle? And I love doing it now because when we do it now in the pre side, like, when we're talking estates, we're doing wills and all of that beforehand. Great. And then if you're waiting until afterwards, you've got the second side, which is all of the extra emotions, the feelings, the guilt, the everything else kicks in. So it gets a little bit harder to do from an objective perspective afterwards. So if I can get you beforehand to start making these decisions, and then you just have to honor them afterwards. Part two. Right? We'll see how they do there.
I think that sounds so fantastic, and I imagine that a lot of your work will be overcoming obstacles to those conversations and trying to encourage people to understand that they're not tempting fate. Nothing terrible is
Mhm.
going to happen because you're having the conversation. It's
Yeah,
all of that
yeah.
awareness, I guess. Is that right?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Those are it's so interesting how so many of us have these reservations, but I mean, we can bring that back on us as well. Maybe it's not a tempting fate thing that's stopping us from doing this planning, but maybe it's that I'm too busy focused on others. I have time. What are those mental objections that we have that are stopping us from taking the time to do these things that we know are important? So it goes both ways, but once you understand kind of what that block is, what that mental block is for you, now we can use that to actually get started. And that's where I work with us. We're hard though.
What would be
We're really hard.
amazing if you're working with funeral professionals? I mean, given that you've got the whole world that you can pick from, if you're
Yeah.
working in a niche with people like me who then are also facing bereavements, and I mean, really, really helpful to do all of that work with a
Mhm.
person from our
Yes.
background. So your next steps, what are you going to do next? I mean, you're saying that you want to do you're going to be doing some recordings. This is kind of your moment, isn't it? You've done all this stuff for all of these people. You've had this revelation, and now you're setting
Mhm.
out on your passion project and everything.
Yes.
What are you looking forward to over the coming year? What's coming
Oh,
next?
that's exciting. Well, I'm getting back into doing my interviews, which is very exciting. So I'll be doing some in-person podcasts, some virtual podcasts, me using these platforms as well. My journal is going to be released. Hopefully, it's going to be released before December. It's supposed to be released before Christmas, which I think is a fun gift. But that it's the workbook that kind of works you through not just estate planning, but also the feeling, also the intentions of what it means to live well. So both sides of those are going out. I've got a couple little items that I'm working on, but I'm really just excited to one share this message broad and wide. I've got a couple other speaking engagements that are coming. And then I'm on the flip side, I'm excited to get back into sewing, to remember how much I'm a big golfer, very, very obsessed with golf. And now that the season is over, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's snowing outside right now. So I'm like, what do I do with myself? So I want to start sewing outfits. That's my goal for this season is to
You'll be
figure out
making
how to do
some
that.
I mean, you'll be making some golfing outfits, and then
Yeah.
when you come on next year, you'll be doing some wonderful funeral-related golfing outfits that you've made yourself.
Yeah.
Going back to the Nap Bishop, she's all into
Mhm.
that as well. But the idea that rest is not just
Mhm.
sitting in front of Netflix, but it's to do with
Yes.
feeding your creative soul and moving and all the fun things of playing.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
you've got a combination of your own project that you can take control of for
Mhm.
yourself, and then the opportunity because of that to have a little bit more free time to be yourself and explore your own needs.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly. I think
sometimes I know when you go to a funeral and there's I don't know, like 80 people and everyone's saying she was so amazing. She did all of these things, and you've got this list of amazing hobbies this person did, and you're thinking, but all I do is organize funerals. I
yes.
won't have anything to say. No one will know what
Yes.
to say about me when I get
Yes. Yes. I think
You
that,
always
but I think that's so key. Look how many lives. I think I was talking to someone yesterday about in years past, people went to work, they did their job, they came home, and they either looked after their family, they went out dancing, they did whatever it was. There was that clear separation between my work time and my personal time. And I find in certain careers like ours, and especially in service careers, we give, and that work time translates throughout. And if you're on call, like let's say you're on call, let's say you're on an overnight on call, all of that, there's the time that we're spending working, and there's the mental load. I find that was worse for me was the mental load. Like waking up at 2 a.m. going, oh, did I remember those flowers? Like all of those things, and even just all of those stories and the weight of the stories that we carry, it sits with us. I've left the funeral industry twice. The first time I left, I felt like I could take a full breath for the first time in years because I didn't realize how much of a weight I had been carrying. And in this time, I left, but I kind of left in a new way. This is my balanced exit where I'm still holding these stories, I'm still supporting families, but I'm doing it from a different mindset. I'm doing it with a clear separation of this is your time and this is my time. And my job is to help you. And I can only take so many stories and so much of what you're sharing. Sometimes, especially us as caregivers, we take on the stories that maybe we don't actually need to be hearing. It's beyond our scope, and it's now a point where I'm saying, okay, I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm going to pause you because I really think you should be continuing this dialogue with a therapist with someone who's going to give you more support than what I can. There's parts that we can, as humans, we can listen and support people. But I don't know about you if you're the same, but families, especially when they feel like they can talk to you, they start sharing a lot. And some of that has to, I need that pause. I need that separation because that's going to sit with me longer than I need it. And that's, I'm trained and prepared to receive. That's the other side of it where we really have to protect ourselves. Yeah.
No one has taught me those skills. No one. And it
Mm,
isn't part of your training. And I've had to learn the hard way. Something that I've noticed, Manel, is I did so many funerals for women in their 50s, early
mm,
50s.
mm,
And every time I did it, there was a statement of how selfless that woman had been and how her whole life had been about everyone else and that all she'd ever done is give. And after a while, I thought, this feels a bit weird. And maybe I'm imagining a link, but I started to think,
mhm.
it feels to me like self-sacrifice is actually not a very healthy thing to be doing.
Yeah.
And then I read a book by Gabor Mate who was saying that there's a real correlation between early death and disease and women who just give and give and give and give because of that
Yeah.
sort of. Have you heard of that?
We used to see it a lot. We would see a lot of women just not waking up. It would be an aneurysm or something like that. Just going to sleep and not waking up because you have literally, like, I don't know the science of it, but it was common enough that I would be like, oh, another one? That's terrifying. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's what
don't
happened to
want,
me.
you see, like, I don't want that to be my story. I am happily being selfish now. Like, it
Me too.
has to be about good high five, right? There needs
High
to be a
five.
balance.
Yeah, and I want it. I
Yeah.
want no one ever. My mission in life, having
Mm,
heard it so many times,
yeah.
she was just completely selfless. That let no one say that on my funeral day. I'm not having a single person say she was so selfless because what that usually means is that she had no sense of self left and they really
Mm,
had nothing else to say about her because she'd given
mm,
everything of herself away through
mm,
no fault of her own because
mm,
culturally that was the expectation. So I'm with you. I'm on a mission with it too. And I do think that one should be able to grow out of a certain area of funeral work and into another, kind of mature into another area where you're not taking so much. And
mm.
also what you're saying is interesting to me about, because I'm focusing on living funerals now. Because kind
Yes.
of both of us have moved to the before bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's something about what you're doing is non-reactive. As funeral directors and celebrants, we're constantly reacting to crisis and
Hmm.
people in crisis. But if you're planning ahead, you're actually proactive, and it's very much more of an empowered role, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And I
Definitely.
love it that you're
Definitely.
doing that.
Yeah.
And hopefully you
Thank
can
you.
teach the people coming up in the funeral industry. And then, like, I mean, and obviously then speak to Gen Z and say, look, I'm doing this thing. There are people, Manel, because they're really, like, they know, they know stuff. And I feel like they will totally sell you to their parents.
Yes. That I
Like,
literally speak to, well, I right now I'm speaking to the sandwich generation for their parents. I speak to
yes.
them for their parents and for themselves to do for their children, right? So we kind of
Mm,
have to go one step down to
yeah.
get the one
That's what
above.
I
So
think.
I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah. Mm,
Yeah. Oh, it's so
yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
I know
thank
I've got
you.
another one coming up soon.
Oh,
So I suppose I should look after myself and go and have a drink.
please do.
I
Self-care.
will.
I love that. Boundaries,
I
right?
have permission. I have permission. Well, Manel, let's tell them again when you're on and
Yeah.
how to find us. Sunday the
Okay.
16th, Canadian time was really,
5
really,
a.m.
really early in the morning.
5
It's
a.m.
absurd.
Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, I'm on
Yes.
Jennifer. That's not her. That's you.
No,
Sorry. Yeah, I'm
my
reading the
middle
wrong
name's
one.
Jennifer, but yeah.
Yeah. Greenwich Mean Time, 10 o'clock. And it's Minelle Williams, and you're looking for balancing life and legacy while caring for ourselves. Okay.
Exactly.
You need her in
Exactly.
your life. I need her in my
Yes.
life. She's fabulous. You can see she's fabulous, so you must join. We're going to leave you there, and then I've got some more people coming up next. I've got, who have I got? Jill, I think. Anyway, I'm going to go and I will catch up with everyone live later, and I'll just stop the
Mhm.
recording.
Thank you for having